Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes, perfect. I thought we could do without the mic tonight, but then they told me that because we're live streaming this and we're recording this, we have to use the mic. So I was going to have you all move to the front, but we'll go with it the way it is. So we have a couple stragglers coming in, but because everybody else was here on time, we're going to go ahead and get started. And if we have to, we can fill them in as we go along. Notice that our group has dwindled in size, which we kind of warned everybody in the beginning that that's kind of what would happen towards the end. Because once you get to the major focus areas and everybody kind of knows, the rest of it, they're just like, okay, my fellow committee members will take care of it for me. So there's a couple things that we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about the focus areas, we're going to review our goals and objectives, and then we're going to talk about next steps. So if you'll remember the last time that we met, we decided that there were going to be 3 focus areas: curriculum and instruction, facilities, and marketing and communication. And then we divided everyone up into each group. Each group had a facilitator or 2 assigned to it. I think in this group there were 2 facilitators. And then we sent you out into independent work groups to do this on your own. So the last time we met, believe it or not, was March the 27th. So you've had a month to be able to get all this down and under your belts. So we're going to have each group come up, either your facilitator or whoever you would like to nominate from the group, to come up and talk about your goals, talk about your objectives, and then we're going to make sure that the rest of the group is okay with it. Did it cover everything that it need to? Is anything missing? Do we need to add anything? And we'll do a show of hands, thumbs up, not hands, thumbs. Thumbs up, thumbs down, and if everything is okay, we'll move on to the next one. So the first one, and I believe this was the first group in, curriculum and instructional programs. Rebecca, are you doing the honors?
It's fine. Oh, no, you don't. No. Okay, we met mid-April to discuss this as a group. And we came up with the goal statement: Pitman Public Schools will offer a stellar, engaging, and multifaceted instructional program for all learners that comprehensively promotes achievement for careers, college, and life beyond our walls. We came up with 8 objectives: increase rigor in core academic subjects, foster school spirit and community culture, develop an SEL program district-wide, including a pledge for the district. Some examples were PATH, Pause, and Pride. Increase differentiation and enrichment for all learners at all levels. Sustain and enhance visual and performing arts programs. Strengthen career pathways, work-based learning opportunities, and in-school experiences for seniors. Offer engaging extracurricular opportunities for students at each grade span. Incorporate new and evolving technologies for learners and develop digital citizenship programming. You'll see a highlight for Objective 4 and Objective 7. We made a correction on that one, so I think that one reads the way we intended: increased differentiation and enrichment for all learners at all levels, because we had the word "and" in there, so we just removed it. That's why that's highlighted. And this is really just for my group to know, because one of my group members had some comments, so I've changed Objective 4 to hit that. And then the Objective 7, the other question that came up was this: offer engaging extracurricular opportunities for students at each grade span. The question was, do we like the wording grade span? And our group didn't get together to answer that. What I meant when I used the word grade span, based on our notes, was the fact that we have 3 grade span buildings coming up in our district. So it would be like early childhood, elementary, junior, senior high. But, that's up for conversation, and if our group has anything to add, I don't know. Thoughts on the grade span phrasing? We're good? Okay. Yeah, I want to see if you like that still. Oh, I know. Yes, say that. Good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bring the microphone. Oh, so sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was just saying for objective 7, where we talked about each grade span, what exactly did that look like? Did we want to say each grade level? So we were trying to get these activities that were extracurricular for kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, each of them? Or did we want to clarify a little bit more about each grade span? Would we want to, instead of saying grade span, do building? Or how we want to kind of really just articulate that? That was the thought.
Any other comments, questions?
So I think that's the decision we do need to make, and we can figure that out. But I just want you to understand one of the reasons I used the phrase grade span was because I didn't want to be overly specific to say every single grade was necessarily going to have something. I was just leaving some flexibility for us to figure that out as life progresses. So.
One thing, the grade span too does leave the flexibility to the action planning piece of it, right?
Any other comments for the group? From our end, we thought that they took everything that was in there about student achievement and got it into 8 objectives. So we were rather impressed. It's really kind of concise. Your goal statement speaks to everything. So we thought it was great. Group, thumbs up. And move forward with it. Excellent, excellent. Okay, facilities. I think there was an arm wrestle match over here as to who was going.
And I lost with Kristen. So heading up the facilities, first of all, just talk about the process that we went through. For a lot of the members of our group, although we've kind of maybe visited the school facilities, sometimes that's just maybe coming into a gymnasium, coming into an auditorium. Everyone felt as a group it would be important to actually tour our facilities. So we set up 4 different tours for the 3 different buildings that we will have in our configuration, and spent probably about an hour and a half to almost 2 hours at sometimes, having an opportunity to really get deep into the building to kind of see where our areas of concern might be, where areas of strength might be. And I think generally the impressions, because we talked about impressions when we met, were very positive. And in some respects, people were more impressed and have been led to believe that certain facilities might be not quite where we thought they would be. But once you get in there and see that we do have relatively 3 well-maintained buildings, but we have buildings with need. So we did our tours, first of all. Everybody kind of developed an idea in terms of what they determined and felt that our needs would be. And then as we came together in our group meeting, we kind of followed the strategic planning process by just kind of brainstorming and getting a lot of things up on the board, kind of following that, well, where are we right now and what are our needs right now? And identifying what those needs are, talking about kind of where do we want to be as far as a school district in terms of having facilities that properly support our educational programs, which is primary, and the different ways in which we're trying to grow our educational programs. But then we recognize that our facilities are so much more than what we do during the day, because our facilities are a primary resource for our community at night times and in off hours and in our fields, and just looking at this from a more comprehensive perspective. So that's kind of where we are with our goal, is to create a safe and secure learning environment equipped to deliver curriculum instruction that ensures the success of our students. Our goal is primarily focused on what we do as an educational institution, but I think as you see, as we get into our objectives, it gets a little bit more broader than that as we try to branch out a little bit to try to meet the needs as far as the community is concerned. As you can see, security was a big issue. And security generally is a big issue when you have sometimes older buildings, because they're built, obviously, in the case of the middle school, which will be our elementary school, over 100 years ago. And we feel that there's some areas there in which we would like to see a little bit more of a secure environment, maybe kind of protecting and strengthening the entryway a little bit, but to ensure to improve the surveillance and systems for admitting students, monitoring students, visitors into and out of the school buildings. So we felt security is always something that's very important. ADA compliance is another big issue. Again, when you look at the middle school primarily and the number of students that will be there and the ages at which they will be, there are some areas there where we like to see maybe some improvements. So that's one of the accessible facilities, design ADA compliant spaces, retrofit locations for specialized programming, and multi-purpose outdoor facilities to meet the needs of our student programs. We were looking at the Summit Field just today with somebody who might be doing some work, and we've got to make sure, we need to remind ourselves that we need to be talking about handicap accessibility, making sure that we're doing everything we can to make them ADA compliant. Safety, and this is kind of where we start to branch out a little bit, and ensure buildings and grounds, property, and personnel continue to be maintained to effectively meet the needs of our students, staff, and community who utilize our buildings, athletic fields, and other school facilities. We want to make sure, again, we have the very best that we can offer, and we want to make sure that we provide opportunities for to maximize that use, not only for what school purposes, but for as community. And then probably the biggie, which we've kind of alluded to a little bit, but became somewhat quite obvious, and has probably been obvious to so many people, is our facility infrastructure, especially, again, at the middle school for an older building, not having centralized heating and air conditioning, and feeling that that's probably a priority. I should have mentioned one other thing that I did mention. We also, in addition to the tours, had the benefit of a very, very detailed study that was just done about 2 years ago by our architects, that went through every building in the district and identified every specific need and put a dollar amount with that need. And I think our group found, we made copies available to our group. I think they found that to be very beneficial and highlighted just about every one our needs that we have relative to our HVAC systems. So middle school, certainly there's needs there. At Memorial, system's a little bit more updated, but we do not have centralized air, so that might be something if we can incorporate that. But the idea that we're looking at items to include in potential bond referendum, so that was a focus, and you can see that particular goal up there. Develop a master facilities plan that identifies the major projects that will need to be addressed in order to ensure that the district schools properly support all educational programs and extracurricular activities. We talk about the fact that we're going to be very limited because we only have about $24 million to work with. HVAC costs have skyrocketed over the last couple of years, so there's going to be challenges, and we work through the process of identifying, although it may not appear up there. And we didn't want to use the word bond referendum because a lot of that some may be included in a bond referendum, and some of those items that we're talking about up there might be included in our regular operating budget. And then, of course, we want to make sure we're thinking for the future, that we're not just thinking for now, and we kind of included this catch-all, future-ready, create innovative spaces to promote learning that prepare students for future success, network, internet, labs, recreational spaces, media centers, performing arts. These just seem to be evolving areas over the years, and we want to remain as flexible as we can, but we want to ensure that we're as up-to-date as we possibly can be. And that's it for facilities.
Got one over here.
Just for clarity, how do you ensure that personnel continue to be maintained?
Yeah, really a great question, considering the challenges that we are dealing with right now from a budgetary perspective. And I think it's just making it a priority. And we're going through that right now as we're working with staffing and maintaining staff. And we think, generally, again, I think there was a general consensus amongst our group. Sometimes the mistakes that sometimes people can make is not providing the personnel necessary to maintain this investment that we have in our buildings, and recognizing the important role that they play, and not having people there that can clean those buildings and maintain them, not people there to not maintain those buildings, because if we don't maintain them, that cost that we think we're saving, we're going to be paying twice-fold later on when you come back to try to fix what's now not working. I think in where we are right now, even considering the amount of state aid and reductions, et cetera, I think we're right now in a very good place, and we would like to hold on to this place if at all possible. Great question. Anything else?
So how did they do? Thumbs up? I see 2 thumbs on one person. Everybody good? Thumbs up? Did they cover everything? Super, excellent. And our last goal area is our marketing and communication.
We're all editors at our table, apparently. Yeah, it's close to that, though. That's okay. All right, so marketing and communication, we had a great time at our meeting. We throw around a lot of our strengths and our weaknesses and what we wanted to do to move us forward. So we came up with 7 objectives. You can see our goal statement, initiate building our brand story for internal and external audiences that celebrate our unique traditions and student excellence to help grow our learning community. So our objectives are build a brand story with student representation and leadership that leverages our strengths and highlights our positive differentiators. Again, each of our objectives we just went through and we were like, all right, how can we sustain different of our objectives, and you'll see this later on too. Number 2, create tactics to spread consistent brand awareness. That's really important when you're branding. Number 3, create informative, user-friendly resources to improve district, maybe the website, provide opportunities for feedback loops, and have well-integrated marketing in communication. So just some updates there as needed. Number 4, foster community outreach and engagement through borough communities, private local organizations, and borough correspondence. You know this if you're in town. The community is such a big part of the schools, and everybody working together is, I think, what makes us special. So there's that one. Number 5 is communicate how Pitman schools support, celebrate, and cultivate an environment of positive experiences for all students. Number 6, develop enrollment efforts for internal and external audiences. And number 7, increase framework that provides sustainability for current volunteers and assists in recruiting new volunteers for communication continuity. So again, we just want to, I think the 3 words that we kind of, we had our 3 key words as we were working together, and it was legacy, culture, and evolving traditions. And I think that kind of, I don't know, just encompasses what we're trying to do here. We want to leave a legacy for our next generation. There's a few generations in this room alone. We want to celebrate the culture that we have in this town. And we love our Pitman traditions. Sometimes, this year we're going through a change, and that's okay. Sometimes our traditions do need to, evolve a little bit. So they were like our 3 words that we kind of kept throwing back into our objectives. So hopefully you guys liked our objectives. Any questions, or is that your job? While I'm still standing up here, if anybody has any questions from our group. Going once.
I like the sustainability aspect in that last objective. We all know there's volunteers who come all the time. They're here, you know their faces, they're here to help, and they're the ones that continually do the bulk of the work. That sustainability says we got to cultivate new volunteers to carry on when the other volunteers eventually move on or get tired, and we give them some relief. And that's usually the hard thing in every district, because those folks who are there traditionally, you can always count on them. But building that strong base is critical to that sustainability for all those ongoing, evolving traditions that you try to keep going. So I like the use of the word sustainability.
So do we have thumbs up here? I think this is a sleepy group tonight. Everybody good? Okay, excellent. So what happens next? So you have the beginnings of your plan here, you have your goals, you have your objectives. What happens next is we turn this over to the superintendent and his team, and they begin to develop action plans to help achieve these goals. We ask them, and this is a change because I know Steve's been around for a while. They used to do action plans going out 3 to 5 years. We don't ask that anymore. We only ask them to start on the first year action plans because things change. And there's no sense investing a whole lot of time into going out 3 to 5 years if something drastic is going to change and you're going to have to redo it. So they're going to start taking a look at like the first year action plans, getting those ready to roll. and then we're going to present the entire plan to the Board of Education. We don't have a date set for that yet, tentatively June. I'm thinking with everything that you have going on, we might even need to push that out to July, but that's okay. Furthermore, we say that annually, once that plan is accepted by the board and you move forward on that, at least annually, this group, and the missing people tonight, this group needs to get together and review the progress. The worst thing that you can do with a strategic plan is go through all this and then put it on a shelf and never revisit it again and just hope somehow miraculously it gets done. So what we say is come back annually, take a look at it. What have we achieved? What do we still have to work on? Do we have to make any modifications along the way? And that does happen. I mean, circumstances change. You may have to make modifications. This is a living, breathing document. So it's okay moving forward if you have to say, we need to adjust this here. This is not going to work for this reason. Questions?
The action planning, we talked about year one. We always recommend too that the superintendent and the team think about the November, December timeframe to start just reassessing. All right, we're halfway through the year one in this case. How are we doing? Start thinking about the year two action plan. Why? Because January you go right into budget season, right? So if you know what your action plan is for year two, the BA and the superintendent can start planning the potential resources that you need in that budget. So it's an iterative process that should happen each year. As Terry said, adjust if you need to, but then you're ready to start the budget planning for that next year.
And this has been an interesting experience for us. And it should be for you too, because most people don't have a strategic plan in the middle of trying to figure out what they're going to do with their facilities. So this was really extremely interesting, and the way that you were able to fold it all into, one action and then be able to come out of that with not only a change in what you're going to do with your facilities midstream, but also with a really nice set of goals and objectives to help you move forward past that. So you guys have did a great job. Give yourselves a hand for that, because we certainly recognize it. And, I think I'm going to turn it back over to Steve. We've enjoyed working with you. It was wonderful. And Steve, do you have any parting remarks for the group here?
Yeah, just to close things out, we certainly want to thank everyone for their level of participation. We kind of knew it ran a little bit longer than we had anticipated. You get into these warm weather months of May, it certainly becomes a challenge. We know we certainly have some work ahead of us. And I really look forward to, and I know I speak on behalf of the Board of Education members that are here and our administration, about the hope that we can continue this being a community conversation. We have something that's very unique and something that's very special here in Pitman. Being this small community, and really, the challenges that we face as a school district with the limited resources that we have, and to be able to have this as a continual conversation as we continue discussing the possibilities of a referendum and getting as many people in this community involved in that conversation. Some of the things we talked about with curriculum, the issues that we talk about marketing, that's especially an area where we could really, really use some help. For those people that have, and I know I'm speaking to a lot of people that are out there hopefully watching from home, who have that level of expertise that could provide some even assistance from home in terms of making sure that we can get the great things that are happening in this district out to this community and even beyond. Because it's a very important, certainly part of our plan, but it's an important part of our mission and our ability to continue to move forward as a district. So I guess that's it. You guys, Terry, right? We thank you for your assistance in working us through this process, and hopefully it's going to have a very positive outcome for all the students and staff and for this community. We good? All right. Thank you very much.